The end of the year is a special time, filled with holidays like Halloween and Christmas celebrated throughout the United States. However, if you live in a place like Orlando, these holidays are less just events, but rather entire seasons, permeating local culture for months. Halloween haunt events at theme parks are inescapable, often running for a good 2 months, and of course on November 1st, the majority of these parks will instantly transform, miraculously putting up Christmas decorations almost overnight. It's certainly a festive 2 months, walking around these parks and enjoying their lights and decorations along with the Christmas music that they'll typically play. Going further, the Magic Kingdom actually offers Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party as a separately ticketed event, keeping their rides open with reduced wait times and offering plenty of quality Christmas-themed entertainment. If you have the chance, it's a really great event that actually offers a pretty good value and tends to sell out on most nights. However, as the theme park wars are continuing to heat up in Orlando, especially with Epic Universe just a few years away, it made me wonder if Universal could end up doing something similar. Coming out of the 2020 shutdowns, Disney did discontinue their Christmas party, and instead turned it into an after-hours event, one that was extremely overpriced and had very little exclusive value. During this time, many people pointed out that Universal was offering far more in its holiday offerings, all of which were included with park admission. With this being said, Magic Kingdom's Christmas party has returned to this year just as good as it had been in the past, and Universal's Christmas offerings now tend to look a bit underwhelming in comparison. Still, I'm seeing a lot of potential that Universal isn't really tapping into, and so today's video is centered around me pitching an idea for a highly themed experience unique to Universal Studios Florida. Initially, this may not seem like the most interesting subject, but I would like you to stick around with me as we explore how Universal could, with the right creative spark, really revolutionize holiday entertainment at theme parks and take it in a new and interesting direction. At this point in time, dressing up theme parks for the holidays is a pretty standard thing to do. Typically, in the Disney parks, Christmas music will play throughout the shopping areas, and these will include festive Christmas ornamentation as well. Of course, the festivities are not limited to just these locations. For example, throughout Epcot's World Showcase, different storytellers will appear for the Festival of the Holidays. They will share either different interpretations of the Santa myth or something else entirely, unique to the traditions of the country or culture that they represent around the end of the year. This is not something I had sought out before doing this video, but I can't rave enough about how great these performances were. They were both entertaining and educational, something that Disney management has all but abandoned for Epcot. These performances have been a staple of the Festival of the Holidays for a while, but it was really refreshing to experience Epcot as a vessel for actual learning, and not just some ham-fisted attempt at IP synergy. These performances are present in almost every single pavilion, and ran often enough that it was easy to see them all throughout the day without much planning. In the European countries, the focus was of course on different cultural interpretations of Father Christmas, all of which are rather distinct from one another, and lead to a surprising variety of different performances. While Christmas decorations can also be found throughout the park, it's also worth noting that Journey into Imagination will provide figments with a Christmas sweater, and Living with the Lambs will get a holiday overlay, which isn't really much other than some Christmas lights, but is still a fun addition. Finally, the American Gardens Theater also hosts the Candlelight Processional, a staple of Disneyland that was brought over to the Magic Kingdom when it opened, and then moved to Epcot in 1994. On a smaller scale, Animal Kingdom doesn't do too much, but does still offer Streetmosphere and a performance known as the Merry Menagerie. This takes place on Discovery Island near the bridge closest to the Oasis, and here performers will bring out cute animal puppets that will interact with guests in the middle of the pathway. In conjunction with this, they will be accompanied by musicians playing interesting interpretations of more traditional American holiday music. It's a uniquely Animal Kingdom take on a holiday celebration, featuring animals found in colder climates, and utilizing an aesthetic that evokes feelings of winter, but in a way that is reassuring and festive rather than harsh. Since the park itself is generally focused on animals found in warmer climates throughout Africa and Asia, this adds a bit of nice variety. However, because live animals like these are not actually found inside the park, the performance in itself contributes to the Animal Kingdom theme of exploring human relationships to animals. In this case, it represents these creatures of a colder climate through puppetry, yet viewing them through a warm and friendly lens of a winter celebration. It's a performance quintessentially unique to Animal Kingdom and definitely stands out as a highlight of Disney's holiday celebrations. In contrast, Hollywood Studios can actually be a bit, well, underwhelming. It was once home to the impressive Osborne Family Lights until the streets of America were torn down for Galaxy's Edge, but today only really has some decorations around the park. Granted, these are pretty interesting and fit in well with the Hollywood-themed areas, but there's just not much in the way of entertainment. There is a projection show that plays out on the Tower of Terror, cycling through different scenes every so often, but that's something best viewed in passing, rather than as a substantial entertainment offering. Where Disney shines best, though, is through Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party at the Magic Kingdom. As a hard-ticketed event, there's a ton of entertainment that can be found here. With the exception of the shows, the majority of the park's attractions are open, and a few even get some interesting overlays. First, the Tomorrowland Speedway Sports Christmas decorations, which are certainly visible during the day, but add a lot as they light up at night. In addition to this, songs from the Trans-Siberian Orchestra will also blast throughout the track. Something similar happens with Space Mountain, using what I believe is the same music loop, but adding red and green strobes to create a Christmas-themed overlay. It's not as interesting as the vanilla version of the ride, but it's still a fun transformation exclusive to the party. The party itself also offers stations where you can grab various cookies and hot chocolate, as well as a number of stage shows. These can be a bit of a mixed bag, but I found the one at the castle to be decently enjoyable, if not a bit campy. The primary reason most people are going to pay for a hard-ticketed event like this is going to be the fireworks at Parade though. The event currently plays Minnie's Wonderful Christmas Time Fireworks, which is a decent enough show. I don't find that it's as good as its predecessor, Holiday Wishes, which also had a much more manageable name, but again, it's perfectly acceptable for what it is. Where I feel the party entertainment really stands out, though, is with Mickey's Once Upon a Christmas Time Parade. It's a pretty old parade, having run since 1994, and while it has seen a lot of updates and changes, it's generally still a really solid experience and highlight of the event. Many of the elements, such as the reindeer and toy soldiers, have been a staple of Disneyland parades since the 1960s, and it's great to see them continue on today in the Magic Kingdom. Many of the floats are also incredibly creative and will also pump out scents such as peppermint or gingerbread as they pass by. Overall, while the parade has been updated with newer characters and floats throughout the years, at its core it boasts an absolutely iconic soundtrack and is still one of Disney's best entertainment offerings. So, having discussed a good portion of the holiday entertainment found throughout Walt Disney World, I think I can establish that much of it is pretty strong. Still, I think that Universal has unique entertainment that could realistically make waves within the industry, so let's now take a look at what they're offering in contrast. If you've made it this far into the video, I really appreciate you sticking around, especially since talking about Christmas entertainment isn't exactly the most marketable subject on YouTube. However, I would appreciate it as a favor if you just simply left a like on the video, as it really helps quite a bit in reaching a wider audience. While different areas of the Universal Parks will be garnished with Christmas decorations, mostly in the Wizarding World, I think it's also worth mentioning that one of the main draws during the holidays is Seuss Landing. It is of course dressed up for Christmas in its own unique way, and relies pretty heavily on the popularity of the Grinch. As you walk around, there's a good chance that you will encounter the Who's of Whoville, a fun, spontaneous form of streetmosphere that adds quite a bit to Seuss Landing. During this time, Universal also seasonally offers Grinchmas, a stage show which I haven't yet seen but is definitely quite popular, in addition to the Grinch meet and greets. However, where Universal really shines for the holidays is in the studios. you will find Christmas decorations and music featured pretty prominently throughout the front of the park, though they are always strongest in New York. This year in particular though, with the Tribute Store including a festive New York department store as a theme for one of their rooms, it really ties the whole area together. If you were not previously aware, the Universal Tribute Store is a space that swaps themes depending on the season. For example, it originally started as a tribute to Halloween Horror Nights, and has had multiple iterations for quite a few years, but also celebrates Christmas, Mardi Gras, and has hosted other various themes, such as summer blockbusters or Jurassic World, to coincide with the opening of the Velocicoaster. It's always a really great experience to see how the store changes every few months, and because it is highly themed, has become an attraction in and of itself. This year, the first room you will enter is of course themed as a New York department store, featuring a lot of interesting window displays. The second room is themed to Hogwarts during Christmas, which is a recurring theme every year, but still manages to stay fresh in how it's interpreted. The third room, which again is reoccurring but manages to be different every year, would be Whoville and the Grinch. Finally, the last room and checkout area is themed to Earl the Squirrel. If you are not familiar with him, the legend goes that one year, as the New York tree was being set up, a string of blue lights suddenly failed. On further inspection, a squirrel had chewed on the wires, and the story became a running joke, including a small squirrel in the tree every year since. However, as the tribute stores have continued to evolve, Earl became a bit of a holiday icon, having themed rooms dedicated to him and other Christmas knickknacks, while also evolving into a merchandisable cartoon. As his popularity has grown, he has continued to become an icon of Universal Studios Florida for the holidays, and even became a meetable character this year. The tribute stores are always a fun experience, again serving as an attraction in and of themselves, and the store this year is pretty solid overall. However, while this and the Christmas decorations put up in the park all create a fun, festive atmosphere, where the park really shines during the holidays is in its entertainment. Known as Universal's Holiday Parade featuring Macy's, this procession will make a loop around the park and is offered as part of admission, but runs pretty much every night at the end of the year. The parade itself is surprisingly impressive and entertaining, utilizing balloons in conjunction with entertainers and floats. Granted, in the footage you're watching, almost none of the balloons were out because I suspect that there were probably high winds, but it's still a really solid experience regardless. Even with the parade's emphasis on DreamWorks and Illumination characters, which I care very little for, the experience is solid enough to stand on its own, even if you don't recognize or care for the characters. However, what makes the parade performers stand out is that you can actually find them throughout the park during the day. Many of the costumed and face characters will roam Production Central, Hollywood, and New York, adding a ton of streamosphere and fun interactivity before them playing their part in the parade. In conjunction with the music and decorations, it gives Universal Studios Florida that same festive party atmosphere that you can find at Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party, but included with the price of admission. Now of course the Macy's parade can't stand up to the one offered at Magic Kingdom, and you're missing holiday-themed fireworks as well. So, having discussed much of the holiday entertainment found throughout Walt Disney World and Universal, what exactly is my point? Well, I think that Universal has a really solid foundation to reasonably compete with Disney for those holiday crowds, and in a pretty unique way. So, let me throw some ideas out there for how this could evolve into a truly industry-changing form of entertainment. While this video is of course focused on competition between Disney and Universal, I would like to take a brief look at Busch Gardens Tampa. Their seasonal holiday event, known as Christmas Town, does host a Santa meet and greet known as Santa's Workshop. It's not a particularly large space, but still has visitors moving through a number of themed rooms and interacting with elves, before then revealing Santa. It's not something I've seen a lot of people talk about, but what it does reveal to me is that the idea of a walkthrough attraction interacting with actors does have an appeal to it. In 2020, when the parks were in their era of mask mandates and social distancing, Universal did not host their Macy's parade, obviously to prevent large crowds, but they did set up the floats and balloons inside the sound stages, creating a walkthrough experience where people would be able to interact with characters at a distance. In conjunction with the highly themed tribute stores that continue to impress year-round, I have to ask myself, why has Universal not created walkthrough Christmas-themed experiences? Something akin to mazes from Halloween Horror Nights, obviously festive rather than scary, but moving through highly themed sets and seeing actors play out a story. If Santa's Workshop and the tribute stores tell me anything, it's that people would probably really like an experience like this. Think about creating a story related to Earl the Squirrel's Emporium, or relating how the Grinch stole Christmas. Not to necessarily steal Busch Gardens' theme, but a story related to Santa and the North Pole would make for an interesting experience as well. I think that fundamentally, an idea like this is sound and would be appealing to a lot of people. However, it would have to be on a much smaller scale than something like Horror Nights. Because that event is so large and takes up most of the sound stages every year, the Christmas event would need to be much smaller in scale, fitting in only 2 mazes and sharing the same soundstage, one not currently occupied by Horror Nights. In addition, I think that another soundstage could be spared, offering a different kind of experience in conjunction with the mazes as well. What the 2020 parade exhibit showed me is that a wide-open, indoor experience in the soundstages would make sense. For example, if Universal designed a Christmas-themed village with an ice skating rink in the middle, and various shops where you could purchase themed merchandise and food, that could in itself be a great addition to complement the 2 mazes. Every year, the Gaylord Palms Orlando hosts an event known as ICE, a walkthrough exhibit with highly themed and detailed ice sculptures. This year, the theme is the Grinch, and it made me think of an actual Whoville built in a soundstage that guests could walk around, filled with actors, shops, and other entertainment. All of these highly themed Christmas experiences are signaling to me that there is very much a demand for something like this. Still, you have to ask the question, does an event like this make sense financially for Universal? It's certainly true that the parks themselves have no issues filling up during the last 2 weeks of December, as these are of course the busiest time of the year. However, I see 2 scenarios where my ideas could work. First is that by offering indoor-themed mazes in a large central area with entertainment and shops, it could really boost merchandise and food sales. Clearly, the highly themed tribute stores are making a lot of money, or else Universal wouldn't keep building them, so I think the idea is generally sound. On the other hand, Universal Studios Sparta could instead host a Christmas party as competition with the Magic Kingdom as an after-hours event, keeping the rides open and transforming the entire park with Christmas-themed entertainment, including opening up these themed mazes. The popularity of themed holiday entertainment keeps telling me that there's very much a demand for something like this, and as competition between Disney and Universal continues to escalate, I think that Universal itself could really make waves in the industry with something so uniquely different. I hope that the ideas I put forward make sense, and I have to wonder if other people see the same appeal in them as I do. Having put these ideas out there though, if you agree that this is something you would like to see, I would once again like to ask you to share or like the video if you haven't done so already, allowing it to gain a lot more exposure. As always though, if you enjoy these types of videos, I also recommend subscribing and hitting the bell icon so as to be notified when new videos are released.